All right, we're going to call to order the September 15th meeting of the West Sacramento City Council and Redevelopment Agency. I'd like to invite our guests to join the council and the staff in the pledge, which this week will be led by Supervisor Mike McGowan.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the council did not meet in closed session, so we're going to proceed directly to our item 1A, which is presentations by the public on matters not on the agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the City Council. This is a time for a public forum, although we're not allowed under state law to take action on any of the items that are brought up under item 1A. We do ask that anyone wishing to address the council on this or any other item this evening to please fill out one of the yellow cards that's available at the front door and turn it in to the clerk. In front of the clerk is a timer that we use to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to be heard tonight. And to that end, we ask that all comments be limited to no more than 3 minutes. Also, in front of the clerk is a flip chart, and that flip chart shows which agenda item we're on at any one moment in case we become so obtuse that you can't figure out what we're talking about. We also recognize that for folks other than Mike McGowan, speaking in public can promote some anxiety and some nervousness. So we do ask that there not be any demonstrations or boos or catcalls or applause or other than on the proclamation items, in that we maintain a civil discourse here in the chambers. So with that, we have one request to speak. I'm sorry, we have no request to speak under item 1A. And so we're going to proceed to item 1B, which is council communications. Are there any reports or other communications this evening? Mr. Kristoff.
I have one. On September 3rd, or last week, we, the JPA flood protection with RD 900, 537, the city of West Sacramento, met. And one of the items of discussion was the 2010 EIP projects. Those are the projects behind CHP Academy that need some fixing and along the rivers. And we should have 100% design finished by October. So that's good news. Things are moving forward there. Really looking forward to the GRR being completed and getting things really moving along with that, because once that is done, that will then free up the federal and state monies so that we can finish the other reaches that are along, especially the Southport banks along West Sacramento. One of the interesting things of this financing mechanism really is the fact that since it's our bond money and things like that that's going into the rivers, into CHP, that will be our contribution to when the GRR is finished, so that when the GRR is finally finished, that's our contribution that's made, so that the funding then will come forth from, like I said, the feds and the state. So looking forward to all that happening, and I think it's next month or the month after that the new person for the Corps is going to come here. And so it'll be a very informative and good time to meet the new person in charge, so to speak. So other than that, that's about it.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Villegas.
Just a couple of reports. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's see. First, the Yolo County Transportation District met on September 13th. Nothing major, but I did want to let the council know. I suspect you probably are already aware of this, Mr. Mayor. At least one of the applicants for the streetcar has completely dropped out, or is on the verge, or is in serious question by Department of Transportation because I guess they're not ready, or they presented themselves to be more ready than they actually are, and I think that's one of the requirements, and so that doesn't sit real well with the federal government. Long story short, Terry Bassett, the director of the Transportation District, I think is planning to submit a letter requesting information as to the status and how likely it is that they would reconsider other. And I think there's probably, I think he thought there might be 2 applicants that were questionable, at least one. Mm-hmm. So that was interesting information to get. And then I think, as the council may have heard, the universal fare card between the Regional Transit and Yolo County Transportation District Transportation is ongoing. We're still trying to figure out how to make that work, so that's still underway. And I think, as the council may know, I'm a member representing, and thank you, Mr. Supervisor McGowan, for appointing me to the Yolo County Workforce Investment Board. And it's an interesting board, and one of the things that we get is a lot of information relative to the job demand, supply and demand, and as you know, during these economic times, the one-stop shop here around the corner, the county administration building, is getting a lot of use. So it's information we don't typically get, so I thought I would just share it with the council. And although it's hard to put it in perspective, just last month, the one-stop shop, which services our community, served 1,700 people, which I think is, the number itself by itself doesn't probably mean much. So what we've asked that the director of the investment board do is give us kind of a perspective relative to the last couple years and what the numbers look like, so we get a sense of kind of what the demand is in our community. And the reason I say that is because we are a partner in this through the Economic Development Department. We do provide, I think, about $200,000 in support to the effort that happens there at the one-stop shop. So that's it.
All right, a couple items. The Board of Directors of SACOG met and allocated our $2.5 million TD, Transportation Development Act claim. That's our money for transit operations. It's a ministerial function, but we didn't have any audit exceptions or any of the issues that some other jurisdictions had, so that money is now on the way. And the board also voted to support the various state appeals of the determination by Freddie Mac on the PACE program, the property assessed clean energy programs that we are part of as part of the Yolo County consortium around encouraging residential retrofits and solar projects. I don't know if the council noticed that West Sacramento was featured in Sacramento Magazine this month. Sacramento Magazine identified 10 great neighborhoods in the region, and our entire city, which they obviously haven't been here, so they don't realize there's a bunch of neighborhoods here, but our entire city was among those 10 great neighborhoods. To amplify the streetcar report, the Streetcar Policy Committee did meet with, I think, one member present, if I remember correctly. One member, I was the only one there. No one else was able to attend that meeting. But we did talk about exactly the issues that Mayor Pro Tem Villegas is mentioned, and so also endorsed the process of filing an appeal because it's not clear that FTA was fully aware of the sales tax measure locally, which is a big deal. Especially compared to other cities in the applicant cities in the country. And there were other sort of simple things that are easily cured. We hadn't adopted a council resolution committing the funds from the Bridge District, for example, but we had said that we would do that. We just didn't have a resolution doing it, and some other cities had. So we could easily adopt that resolution. And we had not at the time formed the Bridge District Community Facilities District. That's now in place, so that there were questions about how real that funding source was, and it's obviously now it is real. Those bonds have been issued. So we think there's a possibility. We don't know. I think the estimate was that we were like number. Oh no, I'm mixing up with Race to the Top. So we don't know exactly where we were in the ranking. So we don't know if we're next in line or not. But the process of the appeal, we're hoping will move us up in case money gets freed up from Fort Worth or from any other community that doesn't get it done. So it's still a outside shot, but it's still possible. And then this morning, this morning I spoke to we hosted here the California Urban Water Conservation Council, and on Monday I spoke at the California. Help me, Ms. Gontarski. The California Association? No, I'm sorry. The Council of State Community Development Agencies, which is the national organization that represents Tina Gontarski. And Tina Gontarski's all across the country. And I mention only because in both cases we were invited because to talk about what WESAC is doing as a model for the rest of the state on water conservation, the rest of the country on community development. So the work's getting noticed. All right, item 1C is appointments to boards and commissions. We have none of those this evening, so we'll proceed to item 2, which is presentation of a proclamation recognizing Club Pheasant's 75th anniversary. Been moved by Mr. Beers and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Villegas. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. 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 Any opposed? Hearing none. That motion carries unanimously. And I'd like to invite our guests to join us at the podium for the presentation. All three of them.
So is that true, Mr. McGowan? You were at the original groundbreaking of the Pheasant Club 75 years ago? Is that?
No, I didn't start until I was a busboy about 4 years later.
Ah, okay. All right. Close though.
Probably was there.
It's easier for the TV and the audience over here to see you. Thanks for coming tonight. this is a very, very big deal in our community. There's, both in our city and in the rest of the world, there are very few institutions that mean as much, that say West Sacramento as much as the Club Pheasant, maybe none. Even Rayleigh Field and IKEA, which are the newest ones, don't have the same roots. They don't evoke the same memories and heritage, and the food's not as good. Although the salmon tacos at Rayleigh Field are award-winning in Sports Illustrated, the food's not as good. The Club Pheasant really is one of those places that defines what West Sacramento is and who we are as a people. And as all the new stuff starts to sprout up, it reminds us of that. And it's not a museum. You know, we all still go there and play dice and eat and drink and have our parties there and our meetings there, and know we'll just run into friends and family and neighbors and new folks in our community. And it is that sort of institution that makes us somewhere special to be and something different from all the suburb USA across the country, but really makes West Sacramento what it is. And it's not just locally owned institution, but it is the family and the restaurant are an essential part of the fabric of West Sacramento in a way that an Applebee's could never be. And so it is a real honor to recognize tonight Club Pheasant's 75th anniversary on behalf of the council. So this is so important. Although we don't always do this, I want to read the resolution into the record for Patty. And would you please come up here, Supervisor McGowan, who lives at the Club Pheasant on days that there are no Board of Supervisors meetings, and some of those too. All right, so whereas West Sacramento's Club Pheasant has been in continuous operation under the same roof and run by the same family for 75 years and 4 generations in West Sacramento. And whereas Club Pheasant has always been run with love and hard work by all the members of the Palmedesi family, and their success is attributable to the vision of George Palmedesi, treat the customers like family and stick with the recipes and great talent of his wife, Luisa Palmedesi. And whereas to this day, someone from the Palmedesi family is always on hand to personally greet customers, and this personal attention to detail is credited as a key ingredient to their successful 75 years in business. And whereas all 4 generations of the Palmedesi family have actively contributed to the community and the economy of West Sacramento by providing a family table and atmosphere for thousands. And whereas the Palmedesi family has supported a wide variety of activities and organizations during their 75 years and has always been a generous and giving community and business partner. And whereas as the Club Pheasant rapidly grew alongside the growing city of West Sacramento, Yolo County, and even Northern California, the Club Pheasant has become an institution known to all who live and who travel here. And whereas the Club Pheasant is celebrated for many of their dishes, but especially their garlic steak sandwiches and deep fried ravioli, which are hugely popular and have the restaurant making more than 10,000 per week, a total of more than 14,400,000 ravioli since 1980. And whereas the contributions of the Club Pheasant in 75 years of continuous service are immeasurable to our community when considering the number of first jobs at the restaurant, family and community celebrations, first dates and marriage proposals, job celebrations, and even farewells, a true testament to their commitment to being a part of all of our families. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the City Council of the City of West Sacramento congratulates the Palmedesi family on its 75th year of providing the community with a home away from home, good food, pleasant company, and a kind and caring family business that has given good memories to generations. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Hi, thank you. I would like to make a tribute to my grandparents who started this, as it just said, and to my aunts and uncles, and to my mom and dad, and Ronnie and Lynn, who taught us how to continue on with this business. And they truly did. They taught us the roots of how to work with people, how to make people happy, and how to make them feel at home. And that, I do want to say that first. And thank you for West Sac, who has been backing our family for years with the opening of the bridge under Danny's name, and we really appreciate that. And to follow through with all of this. It's very touching, and we will have this up and ready to go for Mr. McGowan on Saturday night. Thank you very much. Dad.
Well, this is quite an event for us. When we moved to the Pheasant Club in 1935, I was 2 years old, and we lived there for, I lived in that same building until 1951. But the Pheasant Club has become like Cheers back east in Boston. Well, we are the Cheers of West Sacramento. Whenever you want to meet old friends, you come to the Pheasant Club. You'll always see this gentleman right here. He's the mayor of the Pheasant Club, believe me. Good man. But I just want to thank you very much. This is quite a deal for us, and we will always cherish it. Thank you.
Yeah, Pete alluded to this Saturday. This weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the Club Pheasant will be celebrating the 75th anniversary. And I don't know if there's any room available any of those nights, so you should call over there and make a reservation. There's going to be entertainment, and on Saturday night we'll have a few comments and probably some memories spoken of at the Club Pheasant, which we shouldn't say tonight on public radio or television. We'll have a lot of old stories and wonderful time. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night, if you're available, come on over. And if you've never tried one of those famous garlic steak sandwiches, this is the weekend to give it a try. So thanks. Congratulations.
All right, thank you very much. We'll see you Saturday. All right, that brings us to the consent agenda, which is items 3 through 9. Any items on consent any member of the council wishes to pull, or any item for question or comment?
Item 6.
All right, item 5 is consideration and award of the contract to construct the Riverwalk Trail and Bridge District Levee Access Road and adoption of Resolution 10-69 for the addendum to the approved mitigated negative declaration for the project. Mr. Beers?
Actually, Dave, I actually don't have any questions. I just didn't want this item to just slip through on a consent. This is a huge accomplishment for the city, and we've been working on opening up the river since day one, and we've had some success with Riverwalk, but this is, to me, one of the next, this section of the river has been blocked off from the community for as long as the Pheasant Club's been around, and so this shouldn't go unnoticed. And the other piece to this that I just want to say, you know, Dave, as I was reading through this, item 5 and 6, first I noticed you had to work both for Bill and for Tina, and that must have really been, you know, a burden. But but the main point is something that seems so simple was so complex, and it's the attitude that all the city staff have to never give up that's made this possible. So this is a real gift to the community, and I'm very impressed with the staff work and the effort that went into it, and I just wanted to say that. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beers. Yeah. Mr. Kristoff.
Dave, yeah, me too. I'd like to echo Councilmember Beers' comments, because, I mean, this is a big thing for us. This is really the first real small integral part of starting the development of that triangle, and so that's a big thing, and it's a good thing. The only question I had on there is, I saw that there's a contract for change orders up to 15%, and normally they're up to 10%, and my concern is when you go to 15%, somehow or another the contractors have a tendency to get to the 15%. And so I was just trying to figure out why this is at 15% rather than the normal procedures that we do as far as 10%.
That's a great question, Councilmember Kristoff. We're learning from our immediate experience primarily with the first phase of Bridge District infrastructure. Toby Wong and his crew are running into all kinds of stuff that's underground. This is an old industrial area. Very, very large, very robust foundations that were really, for the most part, never taken out, just covered over. we expect to run into those kinds of obstacles, and they generate very substantial cost increases. We've done the best homework that we can, but we do expect to run into obstacles, and that's really the primary driver for that additional buffer.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, and item 6, which is consideration and award of a contract amendment to Walker Macy for additional analytical design and regulatory compliance services for the Riverwalk Trail and Bridge District Levy Access Road. Mr. Christoph.
Yeah. Are we going to be finished by April 1st, 2011? I mean, because, I mean, it seems like there's really a funding mechanism that is involved in all that, and that seems like that is a very, very short time frame.
It is. And
can we get an extension?
we've requested an extension. There's the funding under Prop 50 is subject to an artifact that, in fact, the state can't process an extension until the next fiscal year. So there would be an inevitable gap. Now, but getting to your question, sir, the project itself isn't very complicated. It's essentially half of a road section. The trouble we've really been working through has to do with the place, for the most part, and the range of stakeholders. But now that we're at this place, where all the pieces really are falling together, with all the stakeholders, with all the regulations, all the permitting, we do expect, if the weather cooperates, that we can execute this fairly rapidly. So it is still realistic to expect completion by the 1st of April.
Did we relocate the fountain and everything then?
Unfortunately, we had to remove the fountain. There was no
Oh,
way
it's
to resolve
removed.
it. The fountain's gone.
Okay, I thought it was
no
relocated.
drinking fountain. We will maintain or be able to provide a domestic water service for special events, but unfortunately, we couldn't place a drinking fountain.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Spark. Item 7 is consideration of reestablishment of the design review process for the River One Hotel project and approval of assignment of the River One Development Agreement from Rayleigh's to the Financing Authority. And we have one request for comment on that by Mr. Lowell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. William Lowell of West Sacramento for the record. And just in case this hasn't been factored in already, I definitely feel that we should have multi-level parking across from the hotel, which would also be across West Capitol from Rayleigh's Field. And this could be factored in with other development, other businesses and so forth on the prime lines of business, you know, closest to the sidewalk and so forth. And so the parking could serve the various businesses as well as the game, as well as the hotel. And last I heard, we were going to let somebody build some apartments there, and that didn't sound very very effective, if you will. And I think I definitely feel we should have multi-level parking and with reservations for many small businesses, because those people from the hotel, they're going to want to do some shopping, and naturally we're interested in sales tax revenues, so we got to think about that too. But maybe you've already thought of this kind of thing already, but just in case, I just thought I'd throw that out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lowell. All right, those are all the questions and comments on the consent agenda. It's been moved by Mr. Beers and seconded by Mr. Johannesson. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries and the consent agenda is adopted. Item 10 is public hearing and consideration of Resolution 10-68, an intent to abandon a public right-of-way, being the West Capitol Avenue off-ramp from westbound Tower Bridge Gateway located between the Tower Bridge and 3rd Street. Mr. Collier?
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The item you have before you seeks approval of Resolution 1068, which declares the city's intent to vacate a portion of right-of-way which is served to the West Capitol Avenue off-ramp from westbound Tower Bridge Gateway. The proposed abandonment is limited to the area between Tower Bridge and 3rd Street. Following abandonment, the city will retain fee title to the underlying property. The off-ramp is proposed to be demolished as part of the Tower Bridge Gateway East Phase construction project which will be coming forward to you for consideration of approval later this month. Abandonment of the right-of-way will also help to facilitate the development of the River One project. It is possible that existing utilities owned by PG&E or others may lie within the abandonment area, or that overlapping access easements owned by external properties may exist. Staff is currently researching the existence and nature of these encroachments and will present a plan to deal with these to council prior to the actual abandonment taking place. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for staff at this time? All right, seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item 10. We have no request to speak, but since it's a public hearing, does anyone wish to address the council on item 10? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing and return it to the council for any further questions or discussion or for a motion. It's been moved by Mr. Beers and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Villegas. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 11 is consideration of continuance of public hearing and consideration of second reading of ordinance 10-13, adopting and adding to the city building code green building standards and sustainable strategies as outlined in Planning Commission Resolution 10-6. The city manager is requesting that we continue the public hearing and consideration of second reading to October 6th of 2010. If there's no objection, that'll be the order. That brings us to council calendar. Ms. Richardson?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to point out that on September 22nd, the Upper West Sac board meeting has been canceled. And I wanted to remind the council that on September 30th at 12:15, we're going to be having a one-item special meeting, hopefully to award the bid for the Tower Bridge Gateway East project.
Will that be here, Carol?
I'm sorry?
Will that be here?
That'll be here. We hope to go from the Transit Center grand opening up here to the meeting.
Okay.
And then go from there.
I believe Mr. Beers has requested that we not use any hopefully modifiers when it comes to this item. If I remember correctly. But. All right, any questions on the calendar?
I'm sorry. I forgot, I apologize.
Seeing none, city manager report.
Just a couple of things. I spoke with Mike Lucan late this afternoon, and we've heard that the Tiger II grant may request an action in advance of a prospective public announcement on October 4th. This is a document, an agreement that we've been asking the federal government to provide us over much of the summer. We don't have it yet, but they may be asking the Port Commission to take an action on that. If that were the case, we would try to schedule another special meeting for 5 minutes after the special meeting you have on the 30th.
Of the council or the commission?
Well, it would be of the commission.
Okay.
But since a number of you would be on that, I thought I might alert you. We don't know yet whether they actually will be able to deliver it in time, but that's our current thinking. Also wanted to just let the council know that I'll be, next week I'll be taking a few days off and then a few days off in the following week, but I will return in time for the opening of the Transit Center.
All right. Questions for the city manager? City attorney report? Staff direction for members of the council? We have none, and we have no future agenda item requests. Mr. Beers moved, and Mr. Johannesson seconds that the meeting be adjourned. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.
Yeah.